Hello again. We're continuing our CCNA study course with the OSI model, this time an in-depth look at layers 7 through 5. Layer 4, the transport layer, we'll do an individual video on, and layers 3 through 1, network, data link, and physical layers. For now though, we're going to focus on layers 7 through 5. Alright, moving right into it. Layer 7 is our application layer. Basically, once you pull up an application like email or a web browser, this is where the data is finally sent. Describes the interface between applications from two different hosts. The data is sent, it's translated, and then it's presented. And finally, you get to view it or interface with it at the application layer. The application protocols fall into two categories: services to the user and information gathering. The data that is sent/received is known as the payload. So here you'll find the HTTP protocol, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. That's a little redundant. Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, basically what it says, is for transferring mail. The Post Office Protocol 3 for receiving mail. And the Simple Network Managing Protocol, which is among those for information gathering on your network. So layer 7 can have some issues that you will see as a network administrator or technician. Failure at the application level can yield many issues actually. But among those are error messages like 405, page not found, or 500, internal server error in the browser. Network resources being consumed excessively can cause these issues. Troubleshooting, running a network diagnostic like ping or traceroute, which checks the connectivity to and between the client. Ping to check for network connectivity. It sends that ICMP message to the appropriate IP address and looks for at least 4 responses if you're using Windows. You can also tailor that to have as many responses if you like. Traceroute checks every device in between yours and the destination. NSLookup can troubleshoot the possible DNS issues pertaining to the web pages not found. Basically just checks to see if you are connected to your DNS server. Application alerts. Recall information gathering is done at this layer as well. Monitoring software detects deviations and errors. The application layer could be the first indication of a much larger attack like DDoS, distributed denial of service. Moving into the presentation layer. This is exactly what it says it is. It presents the data in a way that the application can show it to you or you can understand it. Transforms data between systems, ensuring that data sent from one system to another can be understood regardless of encoding, compression, or encryption. Data syntax checking and structure of data to ensure it conforms to the expected format by checking for errors and even correcting errors. And when sending, data is either compressed or encrypted as we go back through. Layer 6 protocols. We talked about this just a little bit in the first overview. We have the SSL and TLS, establishing encrypted connections between communicating parties. TLS, Transport Layer Security, is the current standard. SSL, Secure Shell Layer, was the previous. TLS establishes a secure and encrypted channel between the client and server to ensure integrity, confidentiality, and authenticity of data exchange. One of the first things you learn in cybersecurity is the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and authorization. So we have all these here. Integrity: the data is exactly as it was sent. Confidentiality: it's sent privately and it's not intercepted along the way. And authenticity: it is sent by the most authorized source. JPEG, Joint Photographic Experts Group, compresses digital images into an efficient format for transmission. Anyone who's owned a digital camera can tell you that raw photos are very large, so compressing them makes them much more manageable and easier to send and quicker. ASCII, character encoding standard, presents text characters as binary code, similar to, not exactly compression, but similar in a way that it's easier to send the data. Layer 6 troubleshooting. Data corruption, compression failures, mismatched encryption algorithms, and unexpected data format errors are among the problems that are indicated an issue at level 6. You can troubleshoot these issues with Wireshark. It's a packet sniffing program that will allow you to inspect packets of data to check compressions, basically capture a snippet of network traffic and analyze the packets that are being sent across. Chrome Dev Tools and Firefox Developers Tools can monitor HTTP traffic to and from web servers, the headers of which can describe the compression techniques used. Tripwire can be used to monitor files directly. Changes and modifications which could be a security threat can be detected by Tripwire. Session layer, level 5. This is our gatekeeper layer, as I said before. You would be correct if you were assuming the session layer, presentation, application layer all work together. The session layer is responsible for establishing, managing, and terminating sessions and connections between clients. Essentially, sessions are logical connections between two applications for the purpose of data exchange. Session layer determines the direction and flow of data and turn-taking during exchange of data, meaning who sends data first and who receives it, so you're not getting collisions. Recovers or resumes interrupted sessions with checkpoints. As said before, it does check for errors, and we do set up checkpoints in the data, so if there is a corruption or an interruption that's sent by a signal, it can quickly pick back up where it left off so that data is not completely lost or entirely corrupted. Protocols at layer 5 are SIP, Session Initiation Protocol, used to establish VoIP, which is Voice over Internet Protocol, or sessions between devices. Essentially, when you have a network-controlled telephone system, SIP protocols are being used. RPC, Remote Procedure Call, allows processes to run procedures or functions in remote processes as if they were local. This is also known as inter-process communication. NetBIOS, outdated. It used in old Windows systems for similar to RPC established connections, but it's Network Basic Input-Output System. And RTCP, Real-Time Transport Control Protocol, manages multimedia sessions such as voice and video calls over IP networks. If you're using Teams Meet or Skype, you are using RTCP. Troubleshooting, layer 5. Communications between applications are disrupted, failure to terminate, establish, connect, or half-open connections, and disconnections drop. Troubleshooting is going to be very similar to the previous two layers. You're going to determine if there's a failure in the network connection, running that ping trace route, review error logs and codes related to the protocols. Just check your error messages in your network monitoring software. And of course, those network monitoring tools can be Wireshark, Zabbix, or SolarWinds. Cybersecurity threats are the biggest issue today when it comes to IT. So for layers 7 through 5, I've listed just a few cybersecurity threats that I wanted to focus on that affect these layers. DDoS, a distributed denial of service attack, which overwhelms servers and data centers and prevents communication or causes excessive lag and interruptions. Session enumeration is where attackers attempt to identify valid session states to gain unauthorized access to accounts and or resources. This can occur at layer 5, DDoS at layer 7. Session fixation can also occur at layer 5, forces users to use predetermined session identifiers, allowing the attacker to hijack that session. DNS poisoning, aka DNS cache poisoning. Attackers inject malicious DNS records, sending users to malicious IPs. Your DNS translates web addresses like google.com into an IP and sends you to that website. If the cache is poisoned, no longer will www.google send you to the actual Google search engine. It'll send you to something else, which could potentially collect your login IDs or information. Although I did not list them here, there are some other cybersecurity threats that could affect different layers, specifically layer 6, such as cross-site scripting, malformed data injections, and content spoofing. Cross-site scripting, which is very difficult to say for some reason, Mostly affects layer 7, but the injection sites typically come through at the presentation layer. Basically involves injecting malicious scripts into a web application to execute unauthorized actions. So sometimes hackers can use something called a burp sweep to stop actions that are occurring as the website is loading. Then they can inject their own malicious code into that, which will allow them to log in as admin or get higher access to content which is on there. When they talk about sites being hacked, this is typically what is happening. And that's going to do it for this in-depth look at layers 7 through 5. I'm going to be putting together a very special long video for layer 4, which has its own OSI model. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join me next time. Hopefully a lot less sniffles. Allergy season is killing me, and it's hard to edit these out. Thank you.